Good evening and welcome to another episode of Gaming with the Sims. I'm Charles Sims. As you can tell, I haven't been on air for a little time and that the scene has changed behind me. This is where we're now filming. You'll see there is a range of board games here and some other miniature games and board games over here. These are going to preview some of the board games we're going to film. And give you a little insight that of what I love to do in my spare time and why I'm making this in the first place. So this week we're going to look at a game. I've only played it twice so far. It's called Abyss. It just looks like a sea monster at the front there. This game originally came out on the 12th of September 2014. This here, what we're going to go through today, is a 2 to 4 player game. It takes roughly 45 minutes to play. There has been 2 expansions. The first was a small expansion. It came out December 2015, and there has been a new expansion which came out on the 23rd of April 2018. So the most recent expansion is quite new to this game, so we are going to feature this, and this is, so I say this game is Abyss. We're going to zoom it in now a bit so you can see a bit more detail in what's happening. So as you can see, this is a box and up close. It's got Abyss on the side in big letters, you can't really miss it, and at the back you can see colourful information. So let's open this and see what there is inside. So you get one 12-page rulebook here, which tells you information on it. This is the board, so we'll put this out. So that's the board there. We'll look at it in more detail in a minute. We have the monster tracker, which goes to the side of the board. You get a score pad. Keep track of your score. So we'll zoom up. This is one of the last games we played, so you can see it filled in there, and it gives you plenty in the pad. You get in this pile, you get a stack of white pearls. So these pearls you use as currency in the game. You get 4 shells here, 5 shells even. 1 for the bank to hold all of the pearls in. And then 4 others for the 2 to 4 players this game is for. You get cardboard keys. Keys are important for lands. We'll come through that in a little bit of time. You have monster victory tokens. So we've got a 2 here. You see 2 in the bottom corner like that. We've got a 3, if you can see it there. Then there's also a 4. There's only 2 4s in the deck. Most of them are 2s with, I'd say, about 40% 3s off the top of my head. So they're the monster track. You can get these points when you defeat monsters during the game, and we'll go through all of that when we talk through how it features. You also get the monster tracking token, which is this red one. So this goes on track. It starts originally at the top, and then as you progress you can move it down to get better rewards. You do get some black dummy ones as well. You get a stack in here of lands. These lands go at the bottom of the board. You get a stack of large cards. These are your lords. They go on your lord track there. And then all of these are where you get your monsters and your allies from in here. So we'll go through this. And this goes here. So let's have a look at the board and we'll show you how to set this game up. So this is board here, as we said, this is Monster Track. It shows that it sets up here on the right hand side of the board. At the bottom of it you get your 2 stacks of, or normally 1 stack, but to make sure we aren't blocking anything I'm just going to split it into 2 for you. So you've got a stack of random monster victory points, you've got your treasury of pills, and then you've got your stash of keys here next to it. So when you start the game up, you get, imagine we're going to do 2 players here. Each player gets 1 pill from the treasury in front of them. You also flip across 1 location. At the bottom, well, on the back of the locations you see these 3 keys, because you need keys to make the locations, but we'll go through it in more detail. But in the locations, you've got, it works in 3 different ways. You get points. These give you points at the end of the game. So you get some locations where it will show like a starfish, which is your allies' help. So these give you points from your ally cards, which are the small ones, affiliated allies. The trident comes from your lords. So you can see there, trident and starfish, and then these give you points for your locations you have. So it's quite clear where you get your points from. You put these back here. So at the start of the game, you put 1 location face up. You also fill out your Lord deck. So, in this deck of lords, there is actually 6 types of lords. As you can see, there's 5 allies: squid, shell, horse, crab, and jellyfish. So each of these, which are the 5 colours, there is a lord of each colour. But this one here is the ambassador. This lord is all 5 colours. So you get 1 each of the colours, and then 1 which is all 5 colours. So we'll go through them. Red ones are known as soldiers. These aren't very popular and are worth fewer influence points, but the powers are useful against your opponents. So at the top here, you've got your influence points. So let's have a closer look at this. So red at the bottom shows it's soldier and it's like a crab one. They're your influence points. If there's any key symbols up here, it shows it here. So this one's worth 1 key. There's some lords which aren't worth any. And then you've got an ability at the bottom. If there is no arrow key, this ability is a semi-passive ability. You can use it anytime while it's not at a location. Once it's at a location, it's stuck there and you can't use it. Whereas this one has got a down arrow, and that's you use it immediately when you purchase the Lord. So the red ones are your soldiers. As I say, it gives you fewest points at the end of the game out of the Lords, and they're the rarest. Here, the yellow ones, these are known as your farmers. So again, you can see yellow at the bottom. These have no powers, but they're worth the many victory points at the end of the game. So they don't give you a bonus in game, but they're worth the most at the end of the game. So out of all these here, the soldier's worth 4 points. All the other ones in the middle are worth 5 points, and this one's worth 12 points. They do vary between 3 and 12 points. Yellow's normally between 8 and 12. And depending on their powers, all the others range between generally soldiers start off at 3 and 4, all the others start off around 5-ish, and they go up to 10. Soldiers I've never seen above 7 in my 2 games where I've actually played through this. Then you've got your blue here. These are known as your politicians. Are widely disliked and few scruples. They're very useful to sway control of lords. So these can influence other lords. As I said before, I skipped over it, but the soldiers influence what your opponents do. Some might make it harder for your opponents to buy lords and stuff like that. So it's more playing on your opponents and making them have to do more to get it. Some gives you less treasure for the monsters you kill. So it's all to downgrade the lords. This is the blues are sometimes you can replace lords which you've got, or target lords, or try and get a better lord than the one you've got out. So you might have got a cheap soldier. Soldier's done its time, and then you use a politician to try and get replace this soldier and get one which has more points. The purple ones are your mages. These are gifted at obtaining favours from the allied races. So these are the allied races. Sometimes they can help you, instead of when you request support from them, sometimes you can get more if you've got them out. Green ones are merchants. Merchants are normally are good at getting pearls. So normally they can help you gain a lot more pearls, which can be used to buy and do more things in the game. Some just gives you a pearl on the turn. Some gain you multiple pearls when you buy the lord. Some give you pearls per action you do on your turn. So it's quite good. And then finally what we go through is the ambassadors. All ambassadors always have 3 keys at the top. And it takes 3 keys to buy a land. So when you get an ambassador, you always get a land to go with it. Sometimes it can help you out, sometimes it might help you out, but you have to put extra here so your opponents have a better choice, so it helps them out as well. The 3 keys which are on the top of it are used automatically to buy the land when you purchase this lord. So they're the lords, and they're the 6 different types of lords you've got out. So we'll go through a player turn. So at the start of your turn, in your turn there is 3 phases. The first turn, the first part of it is optional. So if there, is not a full set of lords out, you can pay a pearl, and for each pearl you'll put a new lord into play. When you buy a lord, they always shift down. So you can. That's an optional step. So you can pay 1 or more pearls, and for however many pearls you use, you put a new lord out. If the lords are full, you cannot do this action. So then you go to your second part of your turn, which is take 1 action. This is a mandatory phase. So at the start of the game, the only action you can do is explore the depths. So in the explore the depths, you take a card and you turn it over. Then everybody else, starting clockwise, gets a chance to bid for this card. So this is a fork value. Each colour has the same amount, and they vary from 1 point to 5 points. 5s and 4s, there are fewer in the deck, so there's more 1s and 2s. So you always find that if a 1 comes out, nobody will bid on it. If a 4 or 5 comes out, it will bid on straight away. So the person to your left gets first pick. If they want it, they pay you 1 pearl for it. If they don't want it, it goes round clockwise until everybody's had a chance to bid. If nobody wants it and you don't want it, you take a second card and you do the same. If somebody buys 1 in your turn, You can only buy one card in your turn, per opponent's turn, and if the first person pays one, and you always pay the person who turned it on, it doesn't go back to the treasury. The next person has to pay two, and then if the third person wants to buy a card on their turn, you have to pay three. So it always goes up. If we'll just skip through here to get a monster at the bottom. If you pull out a monster, you do not offer the monster around. It's only the active player who gets the choice of the monster. If you can automatically kill the monster, or you can say no. If you say no, you move the monster tracker down. If you say you want to kill it, wherever the monster tracker is on the track is you get the rewards. So the first one, if you kill it while it's here, you get a pearl or you get a monster token. Once you go down one, if you kill it here, so you've passed once, you get two pearls, a pearl and a monster, and a monster token, or two monster tokens. If you kill it here, you have to take a key. Here you get a key and a pearl or a monster token. Here you can see what's happening. You get a key and a choice of two pearls, a pearl and a monster token, or two monster tokens. And if you defeat it here, you get two keys. Now there's 6 monster tokens in this deck. But while it's quite low up here, most people seem to skip. If you get to your 5th space and nobody wants it and you don't want it, you have to take this card, but you also get a pearl from the bank. If it's a monster hit, you have to fight the monster, but you also get the pearl from the bank. Any monsters which aren't, fought or unfought, go into the discard. All the others which don't get taken, so this one I would have taken, go upside down on the allied areas. So when there's an upside down pile here, you can actually do the second type of action on your turn. Instead of explore the decks, you can request support from the council, which is you take an entire stack of one of the allied races. So you've got to remember what got discarded, so what's in the stack. Sometimes you might pick up 10 cards, sometimes you might pick up 1. Depends what you need at the time. There is no maximum hand size, so it's not actually bad picking up 10 from here. So that's the second type of action. And the third type of action is recruit a lord. So each lord has a value at the bottom. So here, this one costs 10. Where this one only costs 6. So all of them say a number, how much it takes to cost. Then the next part is what can you use to actually buy it. So it's all to do with how many circles it is on. So here you've only got the one circle, and it's a large circle with a horse in it, which means you can only use one type of race, and mandatory race you have to use, minimum mandatory, is seahorse. So on this one you can actually only use seahorses to buy it. Where this one, you've got 3. So you've got the big large one, which is a mandatory one, and then there's 2 others, which means because there's 3 circles, you have to use 3 races to buy this card. One of them has to be shells, but the other 2 can be your choice. Where the ambassadors, there's 5 circles, which means you have to use all 5 races. So on here, it's quite simple. You have to use 3 cards, which means you're normally going to pay that 6 on its own with them 3 cards. However, if you need to pay this 10, and you've got only 8 seahorsey cards, you can make the difference up with pearls if you want. And you can use pearls to add to your score to make the score you require. And you can overpay for it, but you get no change. So here, if I used value cards of a 4 shell, a 4 crab, and a 2 jellyfish, That's my 3 races. I've paid 10, but it's only needed 6 to buy. So for that, I use all 3 cards, and I get this, and everything moves down. And then I'll do the actions here, if it was an arrow down. If there's only 3 cards, and then you buy it, you see here, 2 pills, which means you get 2 pills from the bank when you recruit that lord, but then you also trigger another bit, which automatically fills the lords fully up to the end. So that's how the lords can get replaced for free, and you can make a bit of money if you time it right to buy the lords. The next part when you buy the lords is the lowest card you get becomes an affiliated ally. So if you used a 4, and a 2, you have to take the 2 as an affiliated ally. That goes face up in front of you, and you can't use that card for anything else in the game, but it does give you points at the end of the game. If I bought a different card, which only needed 2 races, and I used a 4 and a 4, I would get to pick which one of these I got to make an affiliated ally, and all others go back to discard pile. Because obviously you do go through this deck quite well, so normally you'll go through it 2 or 3 times in the game. And then the third step of your turn is also mandatory, which is control a location. So if you've got at least 3 keys, you've got to spend 3 of your keys, and you can spend whichever ones you want. So say on the turn I had this key, and I got 2 keys from a monster. I would want to keep this ability active, so I'll use these 2 keys and this key, and I'll buy a location. Now, you can have any location which is face up, or you can dig for a location. So when you dig, you get to choose 1 to 4, and depending on what number you choose, is how many locations you draw. So if I choose 3, I would get 3 locations. I'd pick one of them, and it's only 1 no matter how many you draw. So I'll pick this one, and the ones I don't pick go onto here face up. So you can see it's now given my opponents, or me on the future turn, more choice here, or if I didn't like any of them still, I could still dig again. So the more you take, the less choice you, well, the more you take, the better choice you have, but the more choice you give your opponents. So if you don't want to give any of your opponents a choice, and you didn't like this one, you could just take a simple one from the top, but it's risky because it might not give you many points. My policy is always to take 4, especially towards the end of the game, because it doesn't. It's more beneficial for me to get more points because my opponents might not have the time to get them locations anyway. So that is the 3 parts of your turn. The game ends when somebody has 7 lords. So as soon as somebody buys this 7th lord, you go into the end phase, or you run out of this deck. Both games have played it. We've played it very differently. I haven't seen this deck going down, and that's with 4 people playing. So it's not really, I don't think that will come up often, but if it does come up, it will end the game. Once somebody buys their 7th lord, all the other players still get 1 more turn. So it does help that you can still try and finish what you're trying to go for. So at the end of the game, how do you score points? So we'll look at this. So here's your pad. So you put your 4 players' names at the top, and then the first one goes, you get points for your locations. So say I got this location, City of Mirrors. So copies and effects on the opponent's location at the end of the game. So if you had that, anybody who's bought a location you can choose. So it could be there's a location where it's like it's your highest, it's worth the same points as the highest lord. Doesn't have to be under it, it's just your highest lord. So, say I own this lord, and I had that one, I could go, right, so it's worth 12 points. So you add up all your locations. Some, like here, go, you get 3 points for each affiliated allies from the shellfish region. So if you've got any face-up green cards in front of you, and your hands face down, remember, or in your hands, face up is only the cards the lowest cost card when you've bought a lord. So you get 3 points for each affiliated shellfish. And then you also get +3 for this location. So this is worth a minimum 3 points, but you want the maximum of 24 points if you add 7 affiliated shellfish. So most of them are worth, normally I'd say around the 10 region is about fair for each location. So you add up your locations. Then you add up your lords. So it's the points at the top of your lords. So if you had this collection of lords, you'd get 12 here, 5, 6, 8 and 11. So as you can see, this one is an easier farmer to get, so it's worth 11, rather than this farmer, which is quite hard to get, and all farmers have no abilities, as I said, so it's worth 12. Where some of the other ones are better, so they aren't worth as much. Next is your affiliated allies. Now, how affiliated allies work is, say these are my affiliated allies, which I'm about to put in front of the camera now. So I've got 2 jellyfish, and I've got 1 shellfish. You get the highest point in each race. So here, it doesn't matter how many jellyfish I've got, the highest there is worth 2, the highest shellfish is worth 4, so I could get 6 points here. So really, to get points in this location for it, you want to get an even balance of, well, you want at least all 5 races, which means it's harder if you're going for 5 races to get points here, to score points like here on these locations, because these locations want you to hold one type of race. So depending on the locations you get, is it worth going for a spread to get you more points at the end of the game for your affiliations, or if you get a location early, is it worth piling on one type of affiliated allies? Which means if you're piling on that type of affiliated allies, you're probably going to be buying more of that lord type. So how I've played it one game was I only tried to buy the 4s and 5 cards, and then I really overpaid for all my lords, but it meant I had strong affiliated allies points towards the end of the game. And then the 4th way to get it is your upside down monster tokens, where you flip over at the end of the game and you see how many points you've scored. Be warned, these tokens can be stolen from you by lord abilities, or you might get some tokens and you get forced to discard them. So it is meant to be secret what they are, so, and it's random when you discard, so normally it's I've played it where you don't look at it because it's random points at the end of the game. So that's how you get to score, and the highest person wins. Now, pearls at the end of the game don't give you any points, but if you are tied on points, the person with the most pearls wins the tie. So pearls are sort of important at the end of the game, but really, to get more points, I'm happy at the end of the game to burn through pearls in my last 2 turns, try and get as many points as I can, because more points means I'm more likely to win than just risk it on a tie that I've tied with somebody. So this was the game. Board Game Geeks gives it 7.3 out of 10. I personally, over the 2 games I've played, I have enjoyed it. I would give it an 8, maybe an 8.5 out of 10. Probably wouldn't want to play it 2 games consecutively. Both games I've played, they're played very differently, and it is a nice game. Definitely won't give it a 9 because of being only 2 to 4 players. and the expansions, by the look of it, doesn't give you any more players. It is limited that when you've got 5 people, you can't play it with 5. But it does play well with 3 and 4 players. Not quite played it with 2 players, so that would be a real test. So this was Abyss. Next week we are planning on bringing you Battlestar Galactica. This is behind me. It's just out of shot here, and we're just doing the normal board game. There is 3 expansions which I'll briefly show you next week, but we're just doing the main game for you at the moment. I hope you enjoyed the new setup of Gaming with The Sims. Please like, share and subscribe this video. Subscribing will help massively, because it will bring you better videos and give me opportunities to do live videos with yourselves. So please subscribe to the channel to keep it going, and I'll see you in a week. Good night.